Capricorn Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. Exciting, exhilarating, electrifying thunderbolts of romantic love and maybe falling madly in love or having exciting and really exhilarating sex. The sun shines brightly in the fourth house of the midnight hour. You don't get a lot of sleep. You might be restless at night. It could lead to some fighting in the home, righteous anger in the home, separation from people in the home. Someone moves out, you move out. A lot of uncertainty around travel, forward, backwards, and a lot of conversations and changes of direction and changes of mind. Maybe a nice little lift, maybe a little bit of a viral vibe here. There's another big, powerful reset button here as well. This like deep truths and understanding emerge about your relationship to prosperity, perhaps. Hitting the wall moment or the frustration or the difficulty is going to be temporary. Hello, Capricorn Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. The month of April 2026 is what we're going to be talking about for you today as we go through the month ahead, as it opens up doors of luck and opportunity in money and love. You also might find yourself getting ready for a relocation or just traveling a lot. We'll see how that goes. And when it comes to love and commitment, things are really trying to gel in new relationships or existing relationships. It's as if you're trying to figure it all out and make decisions at last. We're going to break it down week by week by week, 4 weeks, four sections today. So welcome. If you're new here, my name is Lori Lothian. I am a Western tropical zodiac astrologer. We are not using whole sign houses. If you are also new here, you might know that I talk about the whole sign house system ad nauseum. If you're not using whole sign houses, you really are missing the whole point of Time Lord tools to predict your future. So please cast your chart in whole sign houses, which is the ancient tradition. If you look below in my description box, I do have a free tutorial teaching you how to do that using free online software. And you'll need a birth time for that. And also, I would like to talk today about time as a concept. It is literally something we can make a map of, past, present, and future. And that's what astrology lets us do. And by using a time map of 2026, you could also time your best life in 2026. So go ahead and grab my 2026 2.5 hour videos for each separate sign, plus a PDF guidebook in my description box below. Those are my fundraising projects that I create every year for you. They are for sale at a very, very cheap price. All right, so let's get rolling. Let's bring the sky up. Let's see if I can get you under 30 minutes. I've been working my way backward from Pisces, and the lowest I've gotten is 39 minutes, and that's a lot of talk time for a video for all 12 signs. My goal is no longer than 30 minutes per video. Let's see if for you, I can pull it off. Okay, let's get A-OK on the old charts here and roll you into the narrative. Hello, Capricorn. Your sun sign is your true essential self, and it's the equivalent to a game player, where the rising sign is the avatar in the game or the character in the simulation. You want to listen for both because they're quite useful and very often accurate. Whereas your sun sign, though, later in life after 44 can be more 45, 44, more accurate than not. You can also listen today for your moon, and that's your mind and emotions and how you feel and think about life, but it also can represent matters connected to home. So Capricorn sun, moon, and rising. Listen for all three, see how you feel. Let's get going. Well, the first thing you have to know, Capricorn, is that you're starting the month of April off as we enter into the first of the month with a moon. It's a Libra moon in the top of your sky, full and bright. A full moon in Libra can open up a fulfillment or a completion of a seed you planted October 21st last fall when you planted a new moon here. So now it's the ripening, harvesting time. Many of you Capricorns were trying to put a seed in place last year to do with your relationship status. Yes, because the 10th house is married, divorced, widowed, separated, but it's also the house of career and career gains. For you, it's particularly connected to relationship because it's Libra. But if you've been looking for a new beginning in career, and maybe you've started thinking about new directions and professional accomplishments and ways of working in this world, then you might literally be thinking now it's time to execute on the plans or the thoughts that you put into motion last fall. Full moon at the top of the sky will be at 12 or 13 degrees, 12 degrees of Libra. And in this capacity at 12 degrees of Libra, it is going to be also activating your sun, moon, and rising more intensely if your sun, moon, and rising is near 12 degrees of Capricorn, much more of an intense lunation for you. And if your midheaven is up here near 12 degrees of Libra in a whole sign house system. Very intense as well for your career and reputation matters. All said and done, though, Capricorn, this new moon is flowing to Pluto and Juno, and it could bring in business partnerships and financial collaborations and alliances connected to career and reputation matters. Moving past that lunation, we're going to talk next about Mercury trining Jupiter. Trines are good and Jupiter is good and Mercury is new. So it's a very good, feel good, good news vibe on the first 3 days of April. Mercury is the messenger down here in your third house and Jupiter is in your seventh. You might travel in order to connect to a long-term committed love partner. You might travel and begin to open up the possibility of meeting a long-term love partner, or you could be doing some kind of commercial enterprise that could be very lucrative and successful with your audience, your clients, and your marketplace for changes you're making in the third house to writing, communicating, teaching, and online projects. One thing about this is that Venus, the goddess of love, moves in on March the 30th into the sign of Taurus. And as we go through this month through till April the 23rd, you've got the love goddess in the love house. Now, she's also a money goddess. So let's break that down. I don't mind this first 3 weeks of April for winning a lottery ticket because you have Uranus here, but also for exciting, exhilarating, electrifying thunderbolts of romantic love and maybe falling madly in love or having exciting and really exhilarating sex. That's something that I could see under this kind of sky. Sometimes if you're single and this kind of thing is going down, especially with Jupiter in the seventh house, you could fall deeply, crazily, truly, madly in love with somebody. And it might feel like it could be a destined and long-term serious relationship that's trying to form off of this excitement. And that's because of the North Node in its current position. So I would say that there's a lot going on in the love stories for those of you who are unmated. And if you're looking for a new relationship, it's very positive. Otherwise, look to some financial good fortune here too, as Venus in the house of good fortune with Uranus can mean like to win money, to speculate or gamble and come out on top. So yeah, you could come into some unexpected good money stories at the same time. We're going to say Venus here for the first 3 weeks anyway, to April 23rd. But I want to bring your attention to the fact that she is there. So watch for her action. Your children could have children, or you could get pregnant. So you and your partner could get pregnant, or your children could get pregnant and surprise you under this 3-week transit as well to the 23rd of April. Now, when we look next at Venus squaring Pluto, which can be the power of love and the love of power, Venus will square Pluto also in the first 3 or 4 days of April. So Venus and Pluto together, that's not a day, that's an hour. Venus and Pluto in a square to each other, building up some significant strength on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th of April, could put you in 2 different categories of alignment. You could have something to do with wealth and money and winning. Yes, because Pluto is wealth in your wallet pocketbook. And you could also have a very lucrative business partnership deal to do with artistic, creative, and entrepreneurial directions. Or your children could be having something very powerful to do with wealth or money, or even some kind of transformation in their life. But I think it'd be interpreted as positive because of the placement of Venus in her home kingdom. And Venus and Pluto can be excavating or things that are hidden from your life. And that could be a secret that your child is telling you, or that you're telling your child or your romantic love partner. Kind of deep, true confessions is the archetype here between you and a lover, you and a child. All right, let's see how that goes for you. When we get to about the 5th and 6th of the month, the sun will trine Jupiter. Sun is about illuminated light, exalting your 4th house. This can be a hardship. Sometimes when the sun shines brightly in the 4th house of the midnight hour, you don't get a lot of sleep. You might be restless at night. The sun is going to be moving through your airy sky from the 3rd week of March to the 3rd week of April. So you may not be sleeping as well as you normally do, but it's also illuminating homeland, property, real estate, and childhood matters. And so with that chironic wound of where's my true home, where do I belong, in place and in play now for quite a long time, since 2019, the illuminating sun exalted with Saturn, realism, and Neptune, dreams, is an important placement. And I feel like the sun, as the sun is in this part of the sky and is hooking up with Jupiter, could indicate a major opportunity moment. And it would have to do with a place, most of you, as an opportunity for a place to live. You're going to feel this around April the 5th. It may connect to business partnership arrangements or money connected to in-laws, money connected to a sibling 3 older or 3 younger, or it could be a locational opportunity or change connected to a long-term committed love story. Now, on the next week ahead, the 7th to the 14th, we're going to talk about a few things. First of all, on the 7th to the 9th, and you can slow me down in the playback speed if I'm talking too fast. On the 7th to the 9th, Mars is going to make a beautiful sextile to Uranus. Mars is action and decisions. Good news. Mars is visible in the sky as of mid-March, and he has his full mojo in gear. In fact, Mars is going to ask you to consider a location change. If it means a new city, town, or neighborhood, Mars is going to bring a lot of passion to your connection to siblings or to your local neighbors and environment, or a lot of sometimes combat, but it would just be neighbors arguing about, the turf or something. But Mars in here is also travel, and he's often connected to movement devices like trains, planes, and automobiles, vehicles of travel. So Mars, a vehicle of travel archetype, is going to flow to Uranus for a sudden, exciting, unexpected travel opportunity. It can be connected to romantic love. It can be connected to your children. It can be connected to unexpected good fortune financially, but likely there might be a travel opportunity connected as well. In a whole sign sextile between the cosmic lovers, a lot of this looks like romantic travel for most of you. Some of you, again, your children may be involved. You may execute a decision about an online social media project, and it may be connected to entrepreneurial and creative businesses, and it will flow and be easy as well. On the 12th to the 13th of April, Venus in Taurus will sextile Jupiter, 2 benefic planets in a cosmic love up. No complaints there. One thing about these two is it's good upon good. All right, this is good upon good. And Venus is going to try her damnedest to deliver something really positive to you. I don't know how that happened. I am not on my A game with my brain today. All right. So Venus says, I would like to see romantic love, falling in love with excitement and unexpected flashpoints of surprise, to Jupiter, who says, and we need to make it true and good and lasting, because Jupiter wants to bring the archetype of the legal or the good or the true to the marriage house. So this isn't a fling. If it's a fling, I'd be very surprised. Something's happening here around April the 12th to the 13th between Venus and Jupiter. Now, Venus has a lot of other moving parts of the sky that she's in, charge of, so to speak. And she does have the capacity for translating some golden opportunity that's creative, artistic, or entrepreneurial to your career space up here in the 10th house of reputation. And she can even exalt your house of your social media landscape or your local neighborhood. But this is such a good vibe for you that I don't know what to say. It could be good news that you're going to be a grandparent, that your children are having children, that you as a childbearing age person is going to be pregnant, and your spouse is the one with the big Jupiter belly over here, or that you're falling madly in love with somebody that you feel like you're going to want to commit to. Okay, around April the 12th. Now we have a basket there, as you can see, but we also have a Kala Sarpa Yoga. We'll be talking about that for the world events in April. As we move into after the Venus love up with Jupiter, ooh, what is that goodness? What is it? You could have a great deal of prosperity and luck through a relationship partner as well, translating the luck to you on the 12th to the 13th. And then on the next story, we'll have the moment where Mars will crash headlong into Neptune. And this is quite positive as well. And I'll explain why. First of all, Mars will come into the sign of Aries on April the 9th. He will be here through to May 19th. This is where Mars is like a champion warrior hero of something in the fourth house. This could also be where Mars wants you to cut, end, and sever where you live. It could be the beginning of a plan to move between April 9th and May 19th. It could lead to some fighting in the home, righteous anger in the home, separation from people in the home. Someone moves out, you move out. It could also be a kind of vibe where you're doing construction in and around the home, working really hard to get a construction project completed, a renovation, a tear down, something like that. And that's really active April 9th to May 19th. And that said, as we approach the beginning of the story, it's going to be on April 12th that Mars will be right into the conjunction to Neptune. So a day before and after the 12th, you might feel like the fog is cleared on an area of confusion, uncertainty, and delusion. Where you live might be one of them. Where do I live? Where should I go? It could be delusion regarding childhood matters. It could be delusion regarding people that live in the home with you. And it could also be a kind of spiritual awakening energy as you clear some kind of miasma or fog of uncertainty. And Mars is like the guy with the windshield defogger, so that one kind of enlightenment may be more clear for you. The kind of enlightenment down in the fourth house is to separate from your childhood or family of origin, cultural village, family norms and mores, and, things like that. Like for example, you realize being a part of your family's religious tradition doesn't matter to you anymore, right? You're going to individuate from the family of origin. I mean, we get this Mars here every 2 years, but not with Neptune and Saturn together. That's what makes it special. There could be some health challenges coming up during this period, April 9th to May 19th, with somebody that you grew up with, somebody in your family system that was in your household growing up. And they may be encountering some challenges to their health as a possibility as well, especially later on the new moon in your fourth house, but we'll get to that later. All right, let's talk about the next story. The next story is going to be getting our boots on the ground, as they say, in the war grounds, April the 14th to the 21st. On April 14th to the 21st, Mercury is going to begin the story around the 14th, as he's at the very end of Pisces, where he began to travel on February 7th. And this is now April 14th. And he's going to get ready to jump the sign boundary into Aries. Now, having him for February, March, and second half of April in your third house has been a lot of uncertainty around travel, forward, backwards, also a lot of uncertainty and changes of direction regarding your connection to siblings or to just the online social media sphere or anything to do with your neighbors and neighborhood, and a lot of conversations and changes of direction and changes of mind. So I've got that story behind you. And now Mercury's getting ready to spend some time in your fourth house. So he's going to cross the sign boundary into your fourth house, April 15th to May the 3rd. But before he gets down in the house of home, property, land, and real estate, just on the cusp of changing, he has a surprise for you. I don't know what it is. I don't want to be a spoiler, but it can be that April 14th, Mercury, 14th, 15th, Mercury will sextile Uranus and will bring you an unexpected surprise. And it can happen to be about your local environment, your siblings, your cousins, your uncles and aunts, things to do with writing, communicating, teaching, maybe things to do with your websites and commercial activities online. And then bang, a Uranus moment. Now, if you're an artist, an actor, a creative, a performer, if you're a celebrity at all online, this could be a nice little boost to your public standing, maybe a nice little lift, maybe a little bit of a viral vibe here, or an unexpected travel opportunity is messaged to you connected to romantic love and children. And you get the news and here comes an opportunity. One or two of those could be true. Or you get the news that your lottery ticket won. Ka-ching, ka-ching. So look to April 14th for something very positive here that surprises you from the house of good fortune through the very communications satellite energy of the third house, texts, phone calls, emails, and all of that. Mars and Pluto are going to sextile. Very formidable, unstoppable willpower is coming your way. But the willpower is localized to the fourth house of what you're doing in and from the home. And Pluto is activating the house of money. So between earnings and money and maybe collaborations and partnerships, Juno and Mars really pushing for some agenda in the fourth house. You've got this kind of like determination and willpower that is superpowered. And so you can like really push through things to finish a what do you call it? A construction project connected to money, or receiving the money to do the construction project, or potentially you're going to see Mercury moving on the 15th into Aries, and that would be hiring the laborers for the work in the home for the construction project. And Pluto is just the wealth that will be available to you to do that. Sometimes this can look like selling a vehicle or buying a vehicle. So some of you might sell or buy a vehicle at this time. So around April the 14th, 15th, 16th. And if you're trying to get something done in the home, your determination is beyond measure. It is so unstoppable. All right. And then we move on to the next story. Oh, and you could rent a property off of this. I almost forgot. So starting on the April 15th through to May 3rd, you could sell a property, buy a property, but more like sell or buy or rent a property. And there may be a lot of momentum and excitement about doing that, although there will be a holdup and a blockage, but then you'll push through. So we'll get to that in a minute. On the 17th of the month, we have two things happening at once. Mercury will be conjunct Neptune, and the new moon will be forming at 27 Aries. So on the 17th, this is where the story that may unfold over the 2 to 3 weeks after the 17th new moon at 27 Aries could lead to news of a sibling with a health challenge. Okay. Right around that time. So I'm just giving you a heads up. New moon, moon rules. It would be a sibling 3 older or 3 younger. So just be aware of news about a sibling health challenge for some of you. Also, yeah, that's right. Well, this is a tricky chart. It could be a sibling 1 younger or 3 older or 3 younger. Then we're going to talk about the idea that the new moon, new beginning, right, is a seed that's planted in your 4th house. And, not every year, every year you have a new moon here. So every year you could relocate your home, move where you live. So there's a possibility that that is true. And, if you want to go back in a time travel machine to 2023 April, there was an eclipse right at this point, more or less. And there's a possibility that whatever you were doing around change of home in April of 2023, add a few months after, similarly, there's another big, powerful reset button here as well. So it re-echo chambers an eclipse from that time frame. I would like to say that this new moon could be a really good healing for your chironic wound of where should I live? Where do I belong? You've been under that chironic wound since 2019, and this could be a real kick the chironic wound out of the story, especially when Chiron leaves the wounded 4th house this summer between June and September. So it really can be a finding a place to land if you're looking for a home. Mercury and Neptune together, it can be very powerful memories from childhood, images or visions, or things to do with communications connected to matters of family of origin and childhood, including people who you cohabitated with as a child. In other words, it could be siblings, for example, or parents, or maybe you guys took in a stray animal or a stray person. So, family of origin, domestic people that you lived with, and communications and messages. But Neptune is a dreamy, sort of imaginary realm. We already had the fog cleared by Mars, right? Back on the 12th, 13th. So now we're looking more like, okay, now that you can see clearly without delusion, things to do with your family of origin, childhood, home, property, and real estate, what are the commercial and communicative and deal-making things you want to enact? And Mercury square Jupiter could be like someone has an offer to buy a home, sell a home, to rent a home, and you're going to negotiate and you're going to sign a deal around that time, or get in the mode to do that. That's around the 17th of April, give or take a day. And it's coming off the new moon. So it got double whammy there, guys. I'm looking more like rental property here. Mercury rules your house of rentals than I am to purchase a property, just so you know. On the 18th and 19th, Mercury will sextile Pluto. So Pluto is literally like what's hidden often from our view. And Mercury is the kind of curious mind. And when the two come together, we're often given a chance to excavate deep revelations and see things that were not available for our understanding. So 18th and 19th Mercury, still at home in that fourth house with Pluto in the money house, could be a lot of things. You could really understand your childhood and how it has connected to the way you were raised, your money values and mores, how you look at making and saving money, what your hang-ups are about wealth and money. So there can be, especially with Neptune nearby, a real revelation and change of mind about how you think money operates in your reality. And you might uncover some deep truths here, especially with Jupiter squaring all of this, like deep truths and understanding emerge about your relationship to prosperity, perhaps. Sometimes it could be Pluto is death. He's in a Maraka or death house. And Mercury is news and news of death, somebody you know passing, okay? And it would connect to your childhood family of origin peoples. Around the 18th, 19th, 20th, Mars will bump into a wall. 17th to the 20th, Mars is going to hit a wall. He's been so unstoppable, so will-powered. You finished the entire construction project. You renovated and bulldozed your property. You did everything you needed to do. You left the home. You separated from the home. You kicked someone out of the home. You had unstoppable momentum. And then bang, 17th to 20th, frustration. Mars, full gas, Aries, he's in his Aries kingdom. So is Venus. He hits a wall, or the parking brake gets pulled up at the same time as Saturn. Saturn is all about doing things over time, and he doesn't do so great in Aries. So there's a real mishmash of energies. Mars is stronger. Mars will try to blast through an obstacle here, but you may have to take a look at what that wall is before you push through it. It may not be the best thing. You don't want to push through the wall of a dam, right? Because it's going to flood everything. So understand what it is you're coming up against, because it has deeper meaning than you think. So the hitting the wall moment, or the frustration, or the difficulty, is going to be temporary, and it can involve communications with someone because of Mercury. And so take a few deep breaths, the 17th to the 20th. You could push through, but you may regret pushing through. I think it's a better option to take a few deep breaths here and see what the frustration is really telling you. Saturn, the Lord of the frustration, is the Lord of your sign. So he's trying to show you something good. And it could also be financial frustrations as well, or impatience. So watch out for that. It's not going to last long, but it's going to happen, and it's going to start a 2-year cycle between Mars and Saturn in your chart, indicating Mars and Saturn together might likely relocate you, at least within 2 years, if you don't move sooner. On the 18th to the 21st, Mercury will actually then talk to Mars, which is just fine. Mars has been blasting through the Saturnian wall. He's carved a hole on the 17th to 20th. Mercury will then follow right up after that. And then Mercury will talk to Mars. Now, Mercury and Mars together can be quite interesting. They're very good for actions that turn out to be, like in this case, dynamic and fast-moving propulsion that connect to acting based on information, acting based on ideas, acting based on conversations or negotiations or contracts. And so you could break a contract, but it's more looking like this with Jupiter's blessings in the 7th house. You execute an agreement here that you're now moving forward on, and the frustration is behind you. Can be a commercial transaction, a lease document with the moon in the 6th house, an agreement verbally with somebody about a relocation change, an agreement with somebody about renting a property together, and a rental agreement signed, sealed, and delivered. These are some ideas I have for you. All of this is happening around April the 20th, 18th to the 21st in particular. Let's move to the 21st to the end of the month. We do see Venus bringing us a last in a lifetime surprise as she charges forward into Uranus. This is going to never occur again in most of our lives. It'll happen again 80 odd years from now. So Venus having, or 70 something odd years from now, Venus having every year, basically every year, more or less, for 7 years, since 2019, she continually turbocharges into Uranus for surprises in a romance part of the sky, surprises connected to your children, surprises connected to your sexuality, and surprises connected to winning money, and like lotteries, and surprises connected to entrepreneurial, artistic, and creative endeavors. So I want you to go back to 2018, 19, but especially after 2019, ask yourself what kind of unexpected things happen with children, romance, love, and lottery wins, and maybe just outside the box romance, different kinds that you didn't expect, unusual types of romance. But this has been the story, and now it's doing its last hurrah here. Venus says, surprise, I won the lottery. Surprise, you fell in love with somebody you never thought you'd ever fall in love with. Surprise. All this is about surprises in love and romance, or one of your children surprises you and they're having a baby and you're going to be a grandparent. If you're going to be a grandparent with the South Node in your house of grandchildren, you've known this soul before in another life. It's not a brand new soul for you. Could even be someone who passed away in the family of origin. On the 24th to the 26th, we have the Sun squaring Pluto. Well, Sun is shining brightly in Taurus, where it's going to be, by the way, from the third week of April to the third week of May. And now you're going to focus on a spotlight in love, romance, sexuality, and creative and entrepreneurial endeavors, and fun and joy and inspiration. Bring bright light here, bringing a huge amount of energy to that fifth house. And at the same time, when the Sun first ingresses, and I'll show that to you, I like this a lot. When the Sun first ingresses on April 20th, Venus is greeting the Sun as the Sun enters. So it's what I would call an auspicious entry, right? So it's good for you, particularly the 20th to the 24th, for romantic love initiations and takeoff levels of takeoff. Then I was trying to get to a point that I've lost my thread. The Sun and Pluto are going to square each other. Now, it's kind of an interesting dynamic because the Sun is with Venus blessing the energy, and because Pluto is about power and the Sun can be an authority figure. So there can be a sort of square off here that's building up on the 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th about a power struggle with a child, with a romantic love partner, or financial matters connected to children, romance, or financial matters, and some intensity here. It could involve inheritance monies in this chart as well, and you might be squabbling over inheritance monies with a sibling one younger. No, with a sibling two younger, or sibling two younger. That's it. Okay, it is just a flashpoint, the 24th to the 26th. Now we're going to move you back a bit because I'm losing the screen there, and we're going to go ahead and talk about the next thing. There's three more things to focus on, guys. Mercury, the messenger, and Jupiter are going to square. It doesn't matter that it's a square; it still can represent good news. We did talk about Mercury being in Pisces, no longer there, having moved into Aries from April 15th to May 3rd, which is good for buying, selling, negotiating real estate and property deals. And then Mercury will square Jupiter. So Jupiter, 18 degrees, direct motion, visible, 7th house, moving direct since March 11th. So go back to last month of March. After March 11th, you have much more clarity regarding your sibling, 3 older, 3 younger, or a long-term relationship commitment situation. After March 11th, you begin to have momentum and clarity, whether you should stay or go, separate, divorce, unite or not, whatever it is. And your partner is also having momentum going forward in their life because that's where Jupiter is sitting. But now I want to mention that Mercury is good news about a sibling, good news about real estate connected to the sibling, 3 older, 3 younger, good news regarding a deal, a contract, a buyer, a negotiation, real estate, property, and land. Good, exciting, surprising news around the potential for renting a property. Good news, ahoy. But it demands action. You must leap before the net disappears. You must jump when you have a chance. It could be a locational change story for sure. It definitely feels like good news. And we have Jupiter in dignity, and we have Jupiter exalted, and Mercury in Aries and Jupiter exalted. It's all good. It feels like good news about money, property, land, and real estate, and commercial transactions connected to the home. And then we move forward. And we're going to connect next to the very last couple of stories. Venus is going to make a wedge as she trines Pluto and sextiles Neptune. So watch this story happening. Venus, she's coming through with excitement in your 6th house. If you think getting a job is a hardship, or you don't feel like you can find employment or something like that, or you didn't want a pet, or you were trying to deal with some debts you are holding financially, for example, Venus in your 6th house. Hello, hallelujah, hallelujah. She's going to offer up some positive surprises with Uranus over the next while, but particularly the two of them here from April 24th to May 19th indicate some positive surprises here, especially earlier on in the last week of April, the 24th to the end of the month. So Venus, Uranus, surprise, excitement. And then what we see is that Venus will be in a beautiful flow to Pluto, and she will open up doors of financial opportunity and riches connected to work, employment, or money and pets, or money and rentals, or money and debt elimination opportunities. And they're all flowing down here to Neptune. And that's your little mini grand trine filled with grace. This taking over the end of the month. Let's go the 24th of the month to the very end of the month. And it could open up glorious, surprising, beautiful opportunities for financial increase, work, job, and career, good, surprising, positive health diagnosis outcomes after a time of confusion, some very positive energy connected to family of origin, real estate, property, and land, buying and selling, but renting as well, even more so renting, and renting your property out or renting a property. And if you didn't want an animal and you weren't thinking of getting an animal, and I get that you may not have, it's not on your radar to do animal purchases or anything, but this guy can give you an animal without in your life without even planning to get an animal, and suddenly, surprise, there's a animal on your doorstep. That wouldn't surprise me into the sky. Righty, I like this for the money. I like this for the work. Venus trining Pluto is a positive wealth yoga. And so we've had energies here that are not that easy when she was in Aries. And now it's like, in Taurus. And now as we approach the end of the month into May 19th, the money and earnings and resources and career, she rules your career, begin to flow. So things go better for you in that sector. If you're not married, and if you don't have a career path, you're retired or something like that, all I can say is things to do with your reputation, your money, and your what you would call your livelihood or job are all on the upswing somehow, some way. That's what it looks like. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. If you look underneath my video, I have a lot to share besides what I do here. You might join me on Substack because I do world astrology write-ups every single week, and I really dive into what's going on in the world with the astrology, and I can do that in a way that I am unplugged and I'm not afraid of being demonetized. And when you go over to, and I speak my mind, if you go over to my Patreon community, I have 4 Zoom calls a month. It's small group settings, and you might enjoy that with me where I'm teaching astrology and taking your questions. And then when you go over to this members only join button here, I've just started it out. I'm just getting my vibe for it starting in December, January, but I provide content there that I don't put out anywhere else. I am very, very open there about what I feel and think. I do occasional live streams where we do mini readings. So check out the membership option here. It's only $3 a month US. And so it's pretty affordable. All right. Thanks, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I'll see you in the next series of videos. Ciao. Lunatic astrology.